Nice to be here. My liver story started back in 2004. And since we're here tonight to celebrate designer shoes and accessories and things like that, I should tell you that it started with a pair of Stuart Weitzman open-toed shoes. In fact, I was looking forward to wearing those shoes to a spring gala, but unfortunately both of my big toenails fell off. Now, this shouldn't have come as a surprise to me because they've been doing this pretty much every year for the past 7 years since I'd had chemotherapy for Hodgkin's lymphoma. My hair had come back, I was in full health, my cancer was gone, but my toenails were a mess. So I got very frustrated finally, and I decided to go to the doctor and ask him if there's something that could be done. And he said, yes, you have some form of toenail fungus, and there's medicine that you can take, but it's actually really harsh. And so we wanted to send you for a blood test to start with because we want to make sure that your liver and kidneys and so on are in good shape and that you can tolerate this medicine. So I went and had the blood test, and then I got a call from the doctor's office. And they said, come on back in, there's something weird. Well, they didn't say that. They never say that on the phone. They just say, the doctor would like to see you. I went back in, and he went over the test with me, and he said, your liver enzymes are 5 times normal. And that means that there is something seriously wrong with your liver. He said, if I didn't see you sitting here looking like a healthy person, I would say that these are the test results of a very sick woman. I was absolutely stunned. I was a 48-year-old mother of two great kids, 12 and 14. And I was happily married, and I was enjoying my career in executive search with Audrey Brinson, who Lisa has a table here tonight. I was playing tennis, golf, I was curling and doing wild and crazy things with all the women from West Van who are here en masse tonight. Thank you so much for your support. We have at least 6 tables, I think, so thank you. Appreciate that. Neither they nor I had noticed any symptoms, except I was a little bit tan, but I think that might have been jaundice in retrospect. I seriously doubted that there was anything wrong at all. In fact, I think I laughed at my doctor when he said this. And he said, this is not a laughing matter. He was looking quite serious. So I took his advice, and I went to see my gastroenterologist. And he, I guess, obviously, his first suspicion was that my cancer had returned and had progressed to my liver. I thought that was absolutely preposterous because it had been 7 years since I'd been declared cancer-free. But nonetheless, I went to see my oncologist as well. Well, it took the two of them, as specialists, a full 4 months of pokes, prods, tests, scopes, scans, and biopsies to figure out what exactly was going on. In the end of it, it wasn't good news. I was told that my Hodgkin's lymphoma, in fact, had returned. But mysteriously, it wasn't the lymphoma, the cancer, that was causing the problem with the liver. In fact, I was told that I had a parallel and unrelated autoimmune disorder of the liver that had been progressing in my system for more than 20 years, undetected. And that's why they call it the silent killer. So from a seemingly healthy and fit person, I had now been told that I had not 1, but 2 potentially terminal illnesses. So, and of course, obviously at that point, you're thinking, what can we do about this? So let's get on with it and go into treatment. So my gastroenterologist told me that the only treatment really for my liver at this stage would be a transplant. But he told me that I wouldn't be eligible for a transplant because I had active cancer. So I went to see the oncologist, and he told me that the chemotherapy required to deal with the recurrence of Hodgkin's lymphoma was so aggressive that it would destroy what was left of my liver. So at that point, it looked like we reached a little bit of a medical impasse. I have to say, it is a tribute to the quality of care we enjoy here in British Columbia that my 2 specialists were able to consult with the Cancer Agency, the BC Transplant team. Some of the best specialists in North America are resident here in British Columbia. And between them, they were able to come up with a treatment regime that put me on the road to recovery. I was put on a high dose of steroids for my liver, and it fortified and all the things I could possibly do to help myself build up my liver so I could tolerate the chemotherapy. And at the end of it, after a year of chemotherapy, which just about killed me, I was told that my cancer was once again in remission. Okay, 1 down, 1 to go. So that was thanks to all my clean living and my doctor's tenacity and creativity. And now it was time to deal with the liver. Fortunately, though the chemo had done some additional damage, my liver was still in pretty good shape. And with the help of the steroids, actually it was running further and longer than I ever had before, but my liver was still deteriorating and we couldn't fool ourselves. We all knew it was a matter of time before I'd need a transplant. The issue was I wouldn't even be considered for the waiting list for a donor organ until my cancer had been in remission for 5 years. So it was a waiting game. At that stage, my gorgeous, vivacious, and robust twin sister, Carol, who's over there, volunteered to give me a piece of her liver. Now, as identical twins, we've shared a lot through our lives, from wardrobes to shoes to boyfriend. Sorry. Is that what you're going to say, Mom? Yeah, we don't have to tell that story, thank you. And we share a mother, that's true. But we never ever envisioned that we might have to share body parts. I have to honestly say it's one thing to be scared on your own behalf about the thought of undergoing major surgery, but it is quite another to think about someone you love going through it with you voluntarily to save your life. I will be forever indebted to my sister for making that gesture, and I really appreciate that. And as miraculous as it might have been, it was not to be. We were advised that my liver was too far damaged, and I would need a whole liver from a deceased donor. And so it was back to the waiting game. I was quite relieved that we didn't have to take that step, so thank you. Ever the optimist, I went back to work, got back into tennis and golf for a while, and was able to even convince myself and most of the folks around me that I was a normal, healthy woman. And I celebrated my 50th birthday with about half the people in this room, I think. My autoimmune disease, unfortunately, though, was silently progressing. And by 2008, I was in pretty dire straits. I had all of the symptoms of end-stage advanced cirrhosis of the liver. And cirrhosis, by the way, just means scar tissue. It means it's an irreversible issue with your liver. And when I was diagnosed, my liver was pretty much close to end-stage, but the steroids help. But it's tragic how many people think the word cirrhosis means that you're a practicing alcoholic. I suffered from massive fluid buildups in my abdomen, which compressed my lungs and made it difficult to breathe. My family and friends all took turns driving me to the hospital to have my fluid drained 3 times a week. I was in and out of emergency on a regular basis with frequent infections due to the buildup of toxins in my body. One of the more severe symptoms of end-stage liver disease is what's called hepatic encephalopathy, which is mental confusion and disorientation caused by extra ammonia in the system. The first time this happened to me, I slept through most of the day. My kids somehow got themselves up and found their own way to school late, and I was oblivious to this. They waved at me on the couch, and I guess they didn't think there was anything wrong with their mother sleeping on the couch at 10:30 in the morning, which was really not like me, but kind of them to let me sleep. Anyway, a delivery man finally came to the door at about noon, and that woke me up. I heard the door ring, and I went out to greet him in my nightgown with my disheveled hair. And apparently I engaged him in some form of conversation. I don't really remember much, and I didn't understand what he was saying. So I slammed the door in his face, and off he went. He phoned my husband at the office, and he said, "I tried to deliver your package, but the lady at the door didn't speak English." Now, if my husband had got that message, he probably would have rushed home thinking there was an intruder or something, but he didn't get it until late in the day, and by the time he came home, I was sitting on the floor in tears in the family room trying to remember how to use my cell phone. Now, I was an executive in the cell phone business for 15 years, so at this point, he figured out something was wrong, and off we went to emergency. Well, when we got there, the triage nurse took one look at me and heard me slurring my words and making inappropriate humor, I guess, and asked my husband if I had spent the day in the wine cellar. So, as I said, it's a tragic reality that people assume that if you have liver disease that you are, you have alcoholism. Anyway, over the course of the next year, I was in and out of the hospital every 3 to 4 months. I had an emergency surgery to remove an infected gallbladder, during which I nearly bled to death as the result of enlarged veins surrounding the liver, which is a common complication of advanced liver disease. During that hospital stay, I unfortunately missed my son's graduation ceremony. I spent New Year's Eve of 2009 in palliative care at Lionsgate Hospital. And then finally, by March of 2009, I was told that I was actually eligible to be put on the waiting list for an organ donor. They tell you that when you get put on the list, it's going to be 6 to 12 months to get a liver, but that year, 2009, it was a full 7 months dry spell. There were absolutely no livers available in BC for anybody, and there's, at any given point in time, there's dozens of people on the list, if not more than that. So when I signed up in March of 2009, we knew it was going to take a while. And it's an unfortunate and very tragic reality that 30% of the people on the transplant waiting list pass away before they actually get their donation. But by July, I was advised that I was now at the top of the list for my liver type, and it was a very sad bit of news because it meant that the gentleman who I actually knew, who was ahead of me in line, had actually passed away. Finally, after waiting for 6.5 months, on August the 9th, 2009, I got the call. My surgery took 13 hours by Dr. Bukowski of the transplant team. And once again, I received all the blood transfusions available at the hospital because I was in danger of bleeding to death. Even my surgeon looked a little shell-shocked after the surgery. But being a fighter, I was well on my way to a miraculous recovery and preparing to discharge within 3 weeks of the surgery. However, fate wasn't finished with me yet. I contracted an infection in the hospital and I started to hemorrhage internally. Unfortunately, my veins and arteries had been so damaged both by chemo and by liver disease that my doctors were unable to stop the bleeding in time to save my new liver. I lapsed into a coma. My family was told that I had a few days to live, and if another liver wasn't found, they should prepare themselves for the worst. Sorry, Mom, don't look like that. You know how it ends. The call was put out to, in that case, when somebody's in that dire situation, they put the call out throughout North America and basically fly a liver in from wherever they can find one. And fortunately, within 24 hours, the liver was located and flown into PGH. Dr. Bukowski and I spent another all-nighter together in the surgical theater on September the 5th, 2009. I spent another 6 weeks in hospital. Mom brought me white spot turkey dinner for Thanksgiving last year. Thank you. I'm looking forward to a real turkey this year. I was finally raised to the care of my family and friends, but I was still unable to walk without help. It took months to regain enough strength to walk up my own driveway. Many of the people in this room put in round-the-clock shifts, bringing me meals, making tea, and helping with physiotherapy. And last November, I have to say, I finally made it into a wheelchair, and I was the proudest mom in West Vancouver when I was able to sit in my wheelchair and watch my son MC the inauguration of the West Vancouver Police Chief, almost making up for missing his graduation. In February, we enjoyed a family vacation in Hawaii, and I was able to swim and surf with my kids. Last June, I was able to watch my daughter graduate, and this fall we packed her off to Ryerson University in Toronto, and she comes home tomorrow for Thanksgiving weekend. As an added blessing, I've been able to watch my dad, and my mom, and my mother-in-law, who's also here this evening, turn 80 this year. And my mom and my mother-in-law are both here partying tonight like they really mean it. I'm thankful every day that I survived this long journey to be able to be here for all of that. Now I know why they call it a liver. I can honestly say for the first time in years, I feel like I'm really living. I feel more healthy, fit, and strong than I've felt for the better part of a decade. There's not a day that goes by that I don't give a silent prayer of thanks for my 2 liver donors and their families for the precious gift of life that they bestowed on me, and it's something I won't squander. Whoever my last donor was, I think he or she might have been an athlete because both my golf and tennis games have improved. I just want to add that I'm unbelievably blessed to have had all the support I have had through this process, and quite a number of people in this room have seen me through it, and you've all been very special. Words can't express my gratitude for that kind of support, and it's something that none of us ever knows that we'll have to draw on, but it's just so special to know that it's there. I also am very thankful to the BC Transplant team, the Liver Foundation, and the transplant ward at VGH, which is a very special place to have to recuperate. There are true angels there. Without any of those folks, I wouldn't be here tonight at all. And we're also here this evening to celebrate women. So